Okay, so you've decided to have a baby. What if you have this baby and it comes out disabled? Will you still feel the same way about it then? Will you still be able to care for it for the rest of its life and the rest of your life? It's not going to be able to support you when you're older. It's not going to be able to give back to you in the same way that a regular person might be able to. And yeah, you're still going to get a lot of positives from that experience. But my cousin is disabled and I've seen firsthand how that has affected their family. And I don't know if I am able to cope as well as they have with that situation. If there's anything I talk about and you disagree with in what's to come, I really want to encourage you to leave a comment down below and just start a discussion, because I want to learn from this and I know that I still have a lot to learn. That's something that looking after Mason the last few weeks has definitely taught me. I do feel like most of the logistical problems that are maybe the most obvious problems that we think about when we have a child are actually kind of secondary to the most important and profound questions that we should ask ourselves when we have children. The main thing I've noticed in being around Mason and looking after him and watching Elaine and Lance care for him is the impact he has upon your time as a parent. It just radically changes what you are able to accomplish in a day. You are suddenly filled with all these activities that are needs for the baby and that the baby can't do for itself. And I think that's only going to increase, maybe not, but I think it's going to at least stay the same as you grow up through life, as they grow up through life. And you have to take them to after school classes or sit with them with their homework. And yeah, there's a lot you can gain from that. And I'm not saying that's necessarily or inherently a bad thing. I think there is a lot of growth and experience that will change you and give you meaning. But at the same time, there's still so much that I want to accomplish as a person before that time is taken away from me. I think something that's tied to this as well is the fact that many people go into parenthood with the aim of getting more meaning or purpose in their life. And that's not something that I personally lack right now. I'm overflowing with meaning in my life, in what me and Ella are doing and what I'm trying to do for myself. So a baby isn't going to give that to me. In fact, I feel like the time it takes away is going to be taking away from these other things that already provide meaning to my life. So there's the two of those, time and meaning. And to me, they're really, really important, and they really make me think twice about whether it would be the right thing to do for me at this stage in my life. This is also a reason why adoption appeals so much to me, or at least one of them, because I kind of feel like many of the reasons for having kids are a little bit selfish. And I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way, but it's not really a selfless act to have kids. You are creating them often because of like curiosities, like what are they going to look like, or the desire to become a parent, the desire to nurture something. And I feel like adopting is a much more selfless version of that. You are actually providing that nurture and parenthood to someone that is never going to have that in their life otherwise, and already exists. They're already there out in the world looking for someone to look after them. When it comes to children, I feel like there's something about risk that people don't seem to fully acknowledge. Not everyone, but many people. For example, if we talk about the idea that kids are going to be able to look after us when we're older, that's not always true. In fact, I'd say that's often not true. There's so many things that can get in the way of that. If you marry someone on the other side of the world, if you decide to live in another country, if your income isn't enough. And I think one good example of this is the statistic that in America, 1 in 5 people are estranged. So 20% of those people, the kids aren't even talking to them, let alone going to be able to look after them when they're older. We tend to see things in a very positive way. And that's good. We should be positive. But when we're making a decision that's as potentially life-changing as having a kid, I feel like it does distort what we're thinking. But there are also many other good reasons that people cite for having kids that aren't necessarily going to happen, like that they will bring joy to their life. Well, in my own family, I know how challenging it's been for my parents to bring up kids, and yet ultimately they say that it's been worth it. But they have sacrificed so much and struggled so much and had so many challenges along the way. And it's hard to say that that's a good decision to make, to suddenly go into all those challenges and hardships when right now my life feels like it's the most stable and happy it's ever been? Why would I risk that in order to find some other way of living life that is potentially worse? I do a lot of things in my life to try and leave the world better than I found it. And having a kid creates probably more carbon emissions than anything else you will do in your life. And that is, it sounds crazy to think about it in those terms, but that really is something that makes me just think more deeply and consider whether it would be the right thing to do. And it's another thing that makes adoption seem like a good idea, because that kid's there anyway. He's not going to be creating any extra carbon emissions. I know for most people this decision is more of an emotional one. I don't have that desire that urge to become a father, to be a parent. And so for me it's definitely more of a weighing up the advantages and disadvantages and looking at it from a more logical point of view. But there is one thing which I think can apply to everyone, and for me kind of overrides most of what I've said already, because I want to live a life of no regret. And if at the end of my life I look back and I think to myself, I really wish I'd had a kid, I really wish I had experienced that, I regret not having a kid, then that is going to be a sign that I haven't lived my life in the right way. It also applies to Ella. I don't want Ella to get to the end of her life and look back and have regrets. And so for her, if she decides that she wants a kid because she's going to regret it otherwise, then that's going to be something that will change my mind. And that's going to be something that I will get behind 100% when and if the time comes. Until then, I guess I'm not in a rush.